welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're doing urban legends in Louisiana. Let's get started. Our first urban legend is called the Voodoo Queen. New Orleans is famous for voodoo, and there's no more central figure to New Orleans than Voodoo Queen Mary LaVie, a mixed-race woman of considerable power and prestige. LaVie worked as a hairdresser, learning the secrets of everyone in the city, white and black, rich and poor alike. She was also an innovator and the first to blend Catholicism with voodoo to form the religion as it is still practiced today. LaVie passed in the summer of 1881, but her daughter of the same name continued her magic for decades more. According to legend, the elder LaVie returns to life once each year on St. John's Eve to lead the faithful in worship. Her ghost and her daughters has been spotted throughout the city of New Orleans. So beware, on St. John's Eve, you may run into the Voodoo Queen. The next urban legend is the Vampire Brothers. When searching for the pictures of them, I couldn't find them because the Vampire Brothers of New Orleans drained their victims, then disappeared. This pair of perfectly normal-seeming brothers lived on a street in the French Quarter of New Orleans during the 1930s. They worked as laborers and kept their heads down. Then one day, a woman escaped from their apartment with her wrist slit enough to cause steady bleeding, but not enough to kill her. In their apartment, the police found several others in a similar state and over a dozen bodies drained of blood. It took 8 police officers to hold down and apprehend the 2 brothers. John and Wayne Carter were executed and their bodies placed in their family's funeral vault. Years later, when another Carter was being interred, the brothers' bodies were found missing. It's said that they can still be seen wandering New Orleans. The next urban legend is 300 mysterious coffins. During the colonization of New Orleans, the French were having trouble convincing women to settle there, as most of the men originally sent there were criminals and the climate was notoriously treacherous. One boat full of women the French had convinced to move to the city abandoned ship in Mobile, leaving only 300 strange coffins behind. Some were empty and some were said to contain the bodies of the undead. All of them were nailed shut, as they had a habit of opening by themselves, and were hidden away in the attic of a convent. In 1978, 2 reporters broke into the convent to see the coffins and were found the next morning, decapitated on the convent step with 80% of their blood drained. Their equipment was smashed. The crime was never explained. The next urban legend is the Myrtle Plantation. In the 1800s, the Myrtle Plantation was owned by Judge Clark Woodruff, a serial rapist who attacked the enslaved woman he owned. One woman named Chloe despised Woodruff but feared that if she protested the judge's advances, she would be sent out of the house and forced to work in the fields. Chloe feared her owner growing tired of her and hatched a plan to regain his favor. She thought that poisoning his family with just a little oleander would make them sick enough that she could nurse them back to health. Instead, she accidentally took the lives of all of them. In order to avoid Woodruff taking his anger and grief out on them, the other enslaved people lynched Chloe and threw her body in the river. It is said that to this day, her ghost and the ghosts of the Woodruff children haunt the property. The next urban legend is Comte Saint Germain. First appearing in the court of Louis XV of France, the Comte Saint Germain was a self-proclaimed alchemist who claimed to have created the elixir of eternal life. At 6,000 years old, he was the toast of the French aristocracy, Eventually, he moved from France to Germany, where he reportedly passed, only to be seen throughout Europe after his demise. In 1903, a supposed relative of the commentator named Jacques Saint Germain appeared in New Orleans. He lived at the house on the corner of Royal and Ursuline Street. Saint Germain was known as a ladies' man until one of his conquests leapt from the window of his home, claiming he'd attacked and bit her. Police entered his home to find it empty of everything except bloodstains and wine bottles full of blood. No one has lived at that house since, and all taxes are paid, but no one can find the owner. To this day, people say you can see the old vampire prowling the French Quarter. The next urban legend is the Libretti House. Sorry if I keep mispronouncing names or anything. In the second half of the 1800s, a wealthy Turkish man took up residence in a French Quarter mansion, the Libretti House, claiming to be a deposed sultan. The Turkish man spent considerable money transforming the mansion into a pleasure palace and fortress, completing with a full harem of women and men hidden behind iron gates. One morning, however, neighbors noticed blood trickling from beneath the gates. Authorities forced their way inside to find the Turkish man buried alive in the yard and all of his servants mutilated, raped, and murdered. To this day, the ghosts of his servants can be found wandering the home in costume, screaming. The next urban legend is the shape-shifting Buckaroo. Hopefully I said that right. The shape-shifting Buckaroo roams small towns at night. Tales of this monster, native to southern Louisiana, also called the loup-garou, have been passed down from generation to generation since the early days of settlement in this area. The Buckaroo is like a werewolf, only the beast often takes the shape of dogs or cattle and is usually pale white in color. Buckaroos are said to wander the streets at night, bothering individuals until someone eliminates them. Once you slay a Buckaroo, you cannot tell anyone about it for a full year. If you do, you will become the next Buckaroo. These creatures are said to appear in Louisiana's small towns, where no secret can be kept. So, beware if you're in a small town in Louisiana for the night. The next urban legend is the abandoned Wild Mouse roller coaster. After the Wild Mouse roller coaster was shut down at Funfair Park in Baton Rouge in the 1980s, locals went wild speculating on what might have happened. Today, it stands alone in disrepair in the corner of the park. This coaster is rumored to be responsible for everything from broken bones to the demise of its repairman to killing the park's chimpanzee mascot and even numerous decapitations. It's even said that 2 little girls who had their heads removed by the ride now haunt the amusement park. So beware if you ever visit Funfair Park in Baton Rouge. The last urban legend is the Devil Man of Algiers. The Devil Man of Algiers appeared in Algiers, Louisiana in the 1930s. He had a red face, long black horns, and could disappear at will. Some sources claim he harasses women, while others claim that he sets his sights specifically on couples. He claims to have been given his power by the god Neptune. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. If you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe and turn the bell notification on so you know when I post. And let me know which story was the creepiest, scariest, or if you'll ever visit these places. Let me know down below. Bye-bye for now.